Welcome to the Loud Lounge with yours truly, Selecta Fray, man, here at Channel 82. And today, we would say this is a great way to start off my birthday show edition with one of my favorite inspirational artists, Luciano. Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
To the Loud Lounge.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Now, before we get into this interview, no long talking. You were the first artist I ever cut for a sound that I was once a part of called Dynasty.
Okay.
And the thing that makes this interview touching to me is that my mother and father have passed. So they were the ones that were behind me in pushing me into becoming a DJ and now the platform of originating now. So this interview has a meaning to me where I can say I'm actually getting kind of emotional, living a presence that I wish my parents were to see. So this interview means a lot to me.
I know they'll be proud.
Okay.
Right, yes. Definitely, man. Respect, respect.
So let's get into it straight, no long talking. A lot of people may have heard your inspirational songs through the years and see you progress as an artist. But what we want to do on this show is get the full spectrum of who Luciano is. How we'll start. This is not your typical interview. Normally it's a question and answer period. We're going to make this more of a conversation between me.
All right.
You know, what we talk about is a conversation base.
Blessings.
But the key thing that I really want to know, where did the name Luciano come from?
Okay. Well, Luciano, because when I started out, I had a bunch of other names. I remember even as a teenager coming up, I was struggling with names, going through a selection of names. I remember one time I called myself Theodore, and my bigger brother used to, for some reason, every time I come with a name, and like I say, man, I want to, because I was always thinking about stardom growing up, you know. So when I chose the names, my brother would turn it into a nickname for me, and you know, that was giving me a warm time. I remember when I called myself Theodore, and he would go to the back of the yard and shout out, Theodore! And I said, man, you can't call me name better. But you know, it goes to show I've always been wanting a name. Now when I came in the music business, I started out with Stepper John. Okay. But this name wasn't doing much for me because when you go to a producer and the man say, what's your name? I tell him, name Stepper. And you come and say, where you from? He said, Central Village, Spanish Town. The man said, wow. It's like a red flag for producers. Got them no man, no bad man come bad them up for royalties and all them things there.
Okay.
But when I met Mr. Homer Harris at Grove Road, because when I started out upholstery, and I was there singing one day, and then I met the supervisor was Mr. Philip. He was affiliated with Mr. Homer Harris. So he introduced us, brought him one day to the factory, and we met, and he invited me to his office. When I went, and he gave me a bunch of advices, you know. And I think he gave me the first microphone and a cassette and said I should put some demos on it. And then when he asked me my name, and I told him Stepper John, and he said, man, we have to fix that. So he was the one, Mr. Harris, he gave me the name Luciano. He was a man from the UK, he was affiliated with a lot of Italians and so on. So he thought that name would be fitting for me. He's the one who gave Spanabana his name, Buju Bantan and Sizzler. Okay. So he's a well-known man in the business, you know.
Now, speaking on your artistry aspect of your life, what were your influences to create the vocal spectrum of who you are, as well as the lyrical content with songs like Sweet Over My Soul, Ja? Where do you get your lyrics from? And where was your vocal range and spectrum from that has created the sound that we can now say Luciano?
Well, with no hesitation, I would say that I grew up listening to the great Dennis Emmanuel Brown. Is one of my greatest icons. Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, Burning Spear, you name it, Sugar Minot.
Okay.
you know.
Yes.
And later on, I was listening to Frankie Paul. So, being having this kind of voice, the baritone,
Yes.
I tend to gravitate more to these kind of singers who has that same voice.
Yes.
But when I started singing, it was more in the church. I grew up in the church. My father was an evangelist, and he instilled in me certain principles of the Bible. He was always like preaching and teaching out of the Bible. And so I kind of adopted that part, the spiritual aspect of my music. If you listen clearly, you will hear that spiritual element in my songs.
Yes.
And even though I grew up in the Adventist movement, and after a while I got read out of the church. That was a long story. When I left Manchester and came to Central Village to live, I was living with my big brother, my eldest brother, Brother Mac.
Yes.
And he was the first elder of the church. But my guitar, as I said, my father was a carpenter, evangelist.
Yes.
So he built the first guitar.
That you have used.
And then just after my father built the guitar, I was there for a little time, and then he passed away. So the guitar was like my main connection to my father. So I was there. I always have the guitar and trying to play some Dennis Brown or Bob Marley on the guitar. But my brother, he wasn't too fascinated with me singing reggae, because back in the days, Christians were a little more hardcore or draconian towards reggae music. They probably called reggae music devil music, and you know. So he actually insisted that I don't sing these songs on my father's guitar, you know. So he took away the guitar from me. And I believe he was very much instrumental in getting them to read me out of the church, because the day when they read me out, I was walking out and the Spirit said, "Look back." And when I look back, I see just in time to see Brother Mac peeping behind the the curtain at the vesta there.
Yeah.
So I feel I make four, and I say, "Oh, you're there behind this." And kind of drying himself, but it was too late. I realized it's him. But anyhow, I didn't let that stop me. Even though they read me at the church, I still had the word of God in me, and I was already embedded in spirituality. Okay. So when I started singing certain songs, when I met Exterminator, label Mr. Philip Burrell, I started singing songs like "Lord, give me strength, sweep over my soul," "It's me again, Jah, how can you name it. Yes. Some real spiritual songs. They were very much interested in getting me back in the church.
And by us talking about that, it shows the evolution of music, what we can say from your perspective as well as my perspective. We find a lot of times in the industry, those that fought us didn't understand where our path was in the music, because you've changed the diaspora of how we listen to music and how we appreciate it. Normally we would say what we spoke about was the Christian background. "Oh, I'm not for reggae because it's not saying this."
Yeah.
But I can say your music, as well as Dwayne Stevenson. I can also say Elaine. We can also throw locals in there as well as Troy Anthony, that have brought the worlds together.
Yes, and you know, you can't leave out Garnet Silk.
Yes, Garnet Silk.
Because even at the time, 1992, 93, Garnet was already out there. And Ian Buju and I think Tony Rebel at the time was the topic of the day. Yes. And Garnet came with a lot of spiritual songs, which it went more biblical. So that was like a opening gate for me to enter it with my gospel. Because I believe that most of my music is gospel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, speaking on your artistry, those that don't know, you're a traveling artist. We can say from social media that you've been in all aspects of the world. You've done tours in Africa, throughout the Caribbean, we can say the Americas as well as Europe. To date, and I know this may touch a few buttons, what has been your show to date that you can say this is a moment that sits back in the journey of Luciano that made you realize you're good at what you're doing, and this is something that, how do I say it? I'm living the message that Jah has given me.
Oh, nice.
What was that date?
I like the way how you put your question.
Yes.
Well, I tell you, see, Brixton Academy Live in 1996. When I couldn't believe when I walk out on the stage and there was people packed all the way up to the ceiling.
Yes.
And the balconies, and you have different layers of balcony. And when I walk out on stage and hit a first note, oh my God, I couldn't believe the response and the crowd, the way how they,
embraced you.
Oh my gosh. As I say, first impression lasts forever. And that was a show, because it was my biggest show in the UK. And I think UK was the first place that gave me my recognition when I did Shake It Up Tonight for Mr. Freddie McGregor from Big Ship label.
Yes.
This was a song that went #1 for me for 8 weeks in the Black Echo charts in the UK. And even when those days, I wasn't so sure. I wasn't saying to myself, well, because I used to do upholstery. When I came to Kingston, I was doing some upholstery and I was thinking to myself, well, this music business is hard, fire. Let me have to go back to do some upholstery, So I was there thinking in my brain, and I remember Natty Sack. He's amongst Buju Banton. Natty Sack right up one day and said to me, yo, me I look for an artist name, man. I was at Kilimanjaro the day. Just thinking hard, I think about my life, and I said, boy, this music thing, boy, it's rough. Because sometimes you have songs out there playing, but until it picks up momentum, you still have to fudge your way out and figure a way, or a way, means of survival,
Yes.
And then you have bills to pay, and then you have your dreams, and you think all kind of things, and you wonder if you made the right choice to leave the 9 to 5 and you leave your business. Because a lot of people, there's a host of people who can sing, but they never had that
hunger and the drive,
that determination to just leave the 9 to 5. Because the 9 to 5 is like a modern day kind of slavery,
Yes.
It prevents you from achieving your full potential.
Yeah. So what we can
But
say,
that day, when I have to tell this story, when I saw Natty Sack ride up with the bike and him have a list, him say, sir, me have a list here, some artists, a song from Wolverhampton, Cuba Negras, them want some dubs, and when you look at the top of the list, I saw them time they spell my name like Louisiana, the state in America.
Yes, Louisiana.
Yeah. And my name first on the list. Some say, I want this song name, wanna know why. That time I did a song for New Name Music. Yes, I wanna know why. We can't give love a try. And that song was the first dub request I got from any song. And I have to give thanks, because I think he ended up doing about 2 or 3 more dubs. But the money that I got that day for them dubs, I said to myself, when I look at the money, I said, this possible. Can one man make so much money in one day? Because if I had to go to my workshop, I have to work for 2-3 weeks before I get that money. So I said, boy, it was like the encouraging move that made me realize that there's hope in the music. That was the break for me. And it was an opening, it was like an indication telling me that don't give up your oath.
This is your path.
This is your path.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you spoke about the artists that you listened to in the past to help create who now is Luciano. Stepping forward into the new generation, who were some of the artists that you would say that you look at and say, on Luciano's bucket list, who would like to collaborate or work with in future workings? Now, I'm going to throw a couple of artists out there. You can throw some more. From me being a reggae fan, Christopher Martin, Remain Virgo, to throw something out there different to show my listener, J. Book. We can throw Elaine in there. as well as your typicals Etana.
Yeah, you know, I did a combination with Elaine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a combination. Young, Gifted, and Black. You didn't hear that one?
No.
You need to check it out.
Okay.
It's a very nice song.
Yes.
It's a redo of Babandi and I think it's Marcia Griffith.
Marcia Griffith.
Very nice song.
Okay.
You need to check it out.
Okay.
It's a nice collaboration. Young, Gifted, and Black.
Okay.
And as you mentioned, Roman Virgo.
Yes.
I love his energy and I see his direction.
Yes.
He is a classic kind of
Dance.
dancehall singer.
Yes. Yes.
And I really,
So-
there's no doubt.
Now,
I could do a
speaking on
combination with
that,
them.
I've
Christopher
stated,
Martin is very talented, you know.
yes, yes,
But I think he leans more to the, like, dancehall, sexy dancehall kind of,
yes, okay.
you know. But Roman Virgo is a more kind of
And this is the
message
question
kind
that
of thing, you know.
has been on my mind. We don't want to say this, right? Barris Hammond's a great artist. He has done so much for the reggae industry, but to be honest, we need someone to take the torch of where he's taken it. So this is a question I ask a lot of artists, because gentlemen like you and other artists I've asked, you are in the spectrum. It's a difference from an outsider giving their view, but you're an insider. And who you feel will be the next one? I gave those artists, from me being a fan
Yeah.
of reggae music, who do you think some of the artists, emerging artists, that you think can withstand the torch and let their music be? Because what we find nowadays, a lot of emerging artists is said to say they're one-hit wonders.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have the longevity of once we saw from artists. So how you feel about that?
Well, I just say, if you should ask me who I think would carry on the torch for Mr. Barris Hammond,
Yes.
I think Mr. Barris is the best man that you should ask
Yes.
for that question.
Yes.
But if you ask me now who I think would carry on my torch,
Yes.
then that would be I would be in a better position to.
No, we came out of that.
But,
That's actually-
but observing the music spectrum,
Yes.
there's no doubt. It's not gonna be so easy to. Because Mr. Father Barris, you know, honestly,
Yes.
the way how he writes,
Yes.
and he's classy.
Yeah, it's the longevity
And his
of his music, and it hits.
He sing about love in such a classy way
Yes.
that you have to dance
Yes.
and you leave thinking about something
Yes.
constructive.
Yes.
You see, the thing about it, a lot of these artists coming up, they have a nice voice, they can sing and all that, but I don't think they take time out for wording and make sure the lyrics is in the right place and so on. So you might hear, like, even a Roman Virgo, his voice is very nice. He has a powerful, you know, voice, but I think probably he may need a writer like Mr. Barris Hammond to guide him, you know,
Okay.
because his voice is so good, and then when he covers a song, he does a good job. But then he will want to lean more to his natural instinct and sing about, you know, all the youth them in the road might want beg him and him tired of how them going on with. Yes. And he's a natural Roman Virgo. I believe that he's charting his own road.
Course.
Yeah.
His own course.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Dwayne Stevenson is a very great writer too.
Yes.
And I think he has the potential to bring messages to the people, whether it be love he sings about, or he sings about situation in his community. I think he's a very, because you mentioned these names,
Yes.
so I'm touching on these names.
Yes.
And I believe that he, in his own way, is blazing his own trail also.
Okay.
You know, Bushman, as you know, is one of my offspring.
Yes.
And I love the fact that Bushman really has not deviated from the roots, and he has been steadfast with his message. I really respect that. It's not easy for an artist to come in the music business and see so many things happening and the business changing, but you still hold firm. I really respect.
A man that can stay to his morals and what he believes.
That is it.
His integrity makes him who he is.
Natty King is one of my offsprings too.
Okay.
But the other day, Natty King did a song. I couldn't believe it. He called himself Joe. Now, and then with the video and what is depicting from the video, it kind of, it really, it took me back. It took me aback.
It upset you.
I wouldn't say, upset is not the best word to use.
Okay.
But I was shocked. That is the word.
Okay.
That is the word I'm looking for.
Okay.
Because I now expect a man like Natty King, because Natty King is also another great youth and his future is big. But sometimes just one little simple thing, like a man, even COVID make a lot of people feel say, well, this music I got locked down forever and mothers try and get a quick big hit and try to something. But you know, as I said, my brother, it's not easy to find artists these days who try to maintain their integrity and maintain their fan base and think about considering their fans before you just go and sing any.
Now, speaking on that, you touched on a thing that I want to talk about. What would be some of the tools or the information that you would give to future artists, knowing that the path you've taken for the now brand that we can call as Luciano, as guidelines that you will help a young up-and-coming artist to produce himself and to create a better production brand for himself? Like, what were some of the things you would tell an artist?
Yes, and before I go to that, before I address that question, I want to make note of another artist. You know, Jupe Lion.
Okay.
Because we've been on the road just the other day, we went to French Guiana. He is also an artist with an integrity, and I really admire the way how he writes his songs and he projects his image, he maintains his image. These are the things we're looking for. We have to see people who take that responsibility as singers and players of instruments. We have a responsibility to guide and help our youth, especially be an inspiration to them, be proper role models, you know.
Yes.
And for young artists coming up, I would really just want to advise them, try to be real, be true to yourself, and worry with no fake thing, and don't get caught with the hype, because this is what I mean thing, when make some of these young artists go off track and start singing all kind of garbage, you know, because they feel like singing about guns or chopping the line, maybe what's happening now, one man singing about, because as I'm hearing a song hit off or anything, them try, everyone run just and go and sing about the same thing. Man go and sing about gathering. Everybody is going to sing about Zuzu and hobby and all them things. So don't follow fashion. This is one I think I want to tell a young artist. Not follow the crowd. Be yourself.
So in a nutshell of you saying that, I actually have a tattoo on me. And it's something that means a lot to me. To thine own self be true.
Yes.
So what we really want to say in a nutshell is be true to yourself.
Definitely.
The best version of you is you yourself.
Definitely, man. And when you can be happy with yourself, self-contentment is one of the greatest things, my brother. Because people can come and give you all these accolades and tell you all manner of things and say, oh man, you're great. Oh, God. So I say, no, don't call me God. Because this is the easiest to hear me man talk, call him one another God and not talk about. I said, come on, man, I'm the messenger. Call me the messenger. I'm satisfied with that. You have to know your purpose also.
Yes.
And fulfill your mission, because everyone has a purpose on the earth here.
Yes.
And you have to identify your purpose.
And your mission.
And your mission.
Okay.
Stick to the plan.
Okay.
And don't get deviated.
No.
And don't lose your focus by what is happening with all this social media, with all this TikTok. Right now, I believe that this TikTok thing is one of the most destructive thing that happens in one of the people, because every man wants to become a star overnight, and before you know them, they will do all prank. You see a man working, I do prank, and like I'm going on people things. You see a man have take all people drinks and a drink. And you can't do them something in some places.
Yeah.
Man will knock out your teeth then.
Yeah.
You have to be careful because you see man I make prank like them, I rob people and all them thing there. All of this is because everything is so
Social
free.
media, yeah.
Social media is so free.
Yeah.
And Lego. It's like a Lego base them people them turning at this business. Yeah. We have to safeguard ourselves, man. Don't get too hip with what you see going on out there.
Yeah. Okay. Now, there's a part that would be a conversation. Who is Luciano outside of the inspirational music? We want to know something about that Luciano is willing to let people hear about. Who is Luciano outside of the singer?
Well, I tell you, God shows you, my brother. Inside and outside, I'm a singer. I'm saying, and if you turn inside, I mean, it's music, you'll find.
Okay.
Even when I'm not on tour, I am working on some music project. And even if I try to take a break from it and say I'm going to have a vacation, it comes from me, like it searches for me.
Okay.
In other words, my life is music.
Okay.
And music is my life.
Okay.
So outside of music, I don't see myself outside of music. Yes.
Okay. Now, speaking on that,
I'm a dead man.
we're talking about your music aspect, your artistry.
Yes.
Do we see a production side of Luciano?
Oh my days. I want to tell you, even a lot of, even some of the songs, even when I did Hills and Valley for Exterminator label, I arranged the song, worked the chords out, and when I brought it to Fatis, and I said, Fatis, I have this song, Hills and Valley, and I said, I'm here the cards, and I'm calling Firehouse Crew, and Danny Basie was there playing the bass. I said, Danny, I want you to swing the bass this way. Like Java bass. Boom, 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 boom. Because the Java bass, if you listen good enough, it swings like the Java bass. But and then I said to him, when I make the changes with the cards, just swing the bass with the changes. And man said, I don't know if it's possible. Like Danny was saying, but I don't know. I said, it can work, man. Just swing it, man. And after we swing it, and when we hear it, like man said, whoa. Danny said, easy. Easy. So production is in my bones, man, in my DNA. My son Nigos is here with me. We have some great projects working on as we speak.
Okay.
And we have a barrage of things in the pipeline.
Now,
and we also have a juggling coming. I kind of redo the bandola rhythm.
okay.
And I call it the Dandola because I'm from the tribe of Dan, October born, so I call it Dandola. So look out for this juggling. It's coming. I have a couple of artists like Mikey General is on it, Lammy Murray,
Okay.
George Fire, Pinky Famous is on it. Because I try to encourage the empresses also. Because this is a universal thing. It's not just a one monopoly thing. We believe that this music is for everyone who has a talent to come and express himself, come and expose ya.
Okay.
And may God just continue to give us the strength because sometimes you have a plan and it might stagger a little because of how things set and how things flow sometimes. But my plan really is to bring forward as many people with their talent. Because there's no doubt, you can hear some people singing and know that this youth that was born to sing, man. You can hear talent. You can feel it. So these are the people we're looking for. You have some man just because them here say, boy, them say music is lucrative and money in it. Man want to run left them calling and say, well, I'm going to stardom and yo, a big singer, It's not necessarily so. Because in an army you have some people who go up on the front line and you have some who follow the captain and you have some who stay in the kitchen and go and watch the part.
Yeah.
You see Messenjah?
Yeah. So, from us having...
Some oil gone, while some go fire it.
Yeah.
All right.
So, from us having this conversation,
yes, sir.
this gives me as well as the audience a better aspect of Luciano. So before we close out, the next thing I want to ask you, where do you see yourself as Luciano, the singer, within the next 5 years? Then the follow-up would be Luciano as the producer and Luciano as the mentor.
Well, I think I've achieved, to a certain extent, the position as a mentor, because over the years, a lot of artists and people have come up to me and said, well, Luigi, you're the reason why I'm singing today. So there's no doubt that I have inspired a lot of people and I have guided them in some way. And even when I went on tour with, speaking of artists, Warrior King is another artist. I have to give him a respect, because these are some people, or some artists who they could, you see, speaking of Chronics and all these upcoming artists who really have made sure to stand their ground and keep their integrity, Protege.
Yes.
There's a list.
Yes, there's a list.
Richie Spice is another artist who never deviated. So we give thanks. We have, Taurus Riley.
Yes.
Is another. Speaking of ability, I believe Taurus Riley has the ability to really be one of them real icons in the business. If he just stays focused and don't get too, because I believe that sometimes he can get a little on the frivolous side.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
if he has a good advisor, someone to guide him and just make him stay, write him songs and do him thing and keep him thing classy, he can achieve a greater height than even where him think right now in himself. Yeah. So as I say, being a mentor or being an icon in the business, being someone to inspire the younger generation, I think I have achieved that to them. I can't leave out Milton Blake either. Milton Blake is really in my stable, even though he's in the USA right now, but he's making some mega hits. I want you to look out for this man. He's coming strong. On my juggling, I say I have, did I mention Algebra also? He's on the juggling, the dandolo.
Okay.
And I must get this rhythm to Milton Blake, because I can't put it out and he's not on it.
Okay.
Now, in terms of being the producer,
yes.
As I said, I can only get more involved in production. My studio is built and is set now. It's just to establish it in a way we can do live recording and so on. We have the space and everything. We are working on that.
Okay.
With the help of my son, he's keen in engineering. Okay. He has a good ear, and that I admire about him. Okay. I have done works with many other engineers, and I've struggled sometimes to advise, because sometimes when a man punch him, don't punch right and punch out some of your energy. Okay. He's a very good engineer. Okay. So we have some great things in the pipeline. As I said, in terms of, there was one other part of the question you asked. You mentioned I am mentor, producer,
singer,
and a singer.
Yeah.
Right now, if a man singing or not singing for the glory of the Almighty, it's like him a wasting time, my brother. I would advise my brethren and sister out there, don't use the talent that the Almighty has given you for your own gratification or for your own aggrandizement, or just to achieve the things of the world. It don't make no sense, because all is but vanity. At the end of the day, you find yourself, when you lie down in that coffin there, people don't like talking them together, but when you lie down in that coffin, it's where you work, it's the work that you do, that will live on. That look at Bob Marley, after so many years, almost 40 years, and his song, his music still lives on. That simply means that we need to do good work. Let our work speak for us. And that will live on as the legacy for a lifetime. Holy Emmanuel, King Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. And you know, and the Honorable Marcus Garvey has done such a great work, and most of his speeches and so on they are in books. But we get a chance now, like Bob Marley and myself here, Dennis Brown, you know, we get a chance to put our message in music and put it in songs, and the generation can sing along with it. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. You know, these are the things we need to make use of our talent and try highlight these things for the generation and help the people, because I believe that this mixed message that they're sending out there causing the generation to go crazy. How can a man be telling a man how to jump over a fence and take a man 3 pints, and hear a man saying himself, say, boy, him feel like he kill a man today and all them thing. How man go sing, say, a murder, a killing him thing there, a murder him thing there. Come on, man. These are the messages I believe that the government also need to play a part in trying to somehow control the music.
Channel the music.
Channel it, man. And even
censoring it better.
There are people they're claiming that people have their rights and freedom of speech and all that. But if you give people a chance to just say or sing anything, they will destroy the very fabric of humanity, and they will destroy our youth. So we have to find a way to challenge or challenge some of these guys who coming up with them things. We have to find a way, but them say, no sir, if I do this song, I'll get a fine underneath my skin. Because same as well, I get a fine if you speed on the highway.
Yes.
A man will check him speed, a man will say, all right, if I don't put on my belt, I'll get a ticket. Yeah. Right away, them buckle up. Yeah. So these are the ways we have to find a way to
control,
definitely,
and moderate.
And even if you say then, that man make them music and them singing in them garage, because the man say, boy, I make them music from a party and in my garage, in my basement, I never make it for public. But these things always leak out, my brother, and come to the public. And then the worst thing that can happen, my brother, is that some of these taxi drivers and bus drivers playing the very garbage loud in their taxis, and they have, imagine they have passengers, big elderly people, respectable people who go to the church and trying to see the face of the Almighty God. Listening to some of this garbage. The government need to stop this. For example, same way they could say they free up the weed, but they don't allow you to smoke in public. All right, make a man have freedom of speech. But in public transportation, man, you have this pouncing loud in public places. In other words, there's nothing safeguarding the youth. Something needs to be done about it. Straight to the Almighty
Luciano,
God.
This has been a very amazing interview. I wish you blessings and many more in the future.
Thank you, sir.
On behalf of the Loud Lounge,
loud and proud,
is yours truly, Selecta Fray, Loud Lounge, as well as awesome son, Herb Luciano.
Blessings, man. It's an honor here, sir.
And
you could add Loud and Proud Lounge.
Yes.
Because you love and proud and loud.
Before we go, yes, do remember tomorrow night, the only place to be in Bermuda is Snorkel Park.
Snorkel.
Luciano live in concert, as well as some of Bermuda Zone like Mikey Wild. It will be hosted by none other than Bermuda Zone Conscious J of Irie, 98.3 FM. Also got to big up my good friend Soldier One.
Oh my God. Magic will be in the place.
Yes. Oh, can't forget Black Star and my good friends Young Guns.
Definitely.
So make it a date.
It's a pre-emancipation celebration.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So make it a date. Don't be late. And we're going to do something different. Bring your queen and not your machine.
Oh my God.
And this is strictly good vibes only for the mature crowd. So make it a date. Don't be late.
And don't be late.
Luciano.
It's going to be great.
Live.
Mr. Douglas Harris, enough respect.